Some.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Yes Have Some podcast. Welcome to October. We are going to be spending this entire month doing deep dives on a number of horror films. Most of them I haven't seen. Abby, I don't know if you've seen any of them. Jacob, these are Jacob's picks this month, okay? Basically, right?
Well, they're always my picks because I've seen way more movies than you guys. Or especially, horror films, to be fair.
Sure.
Yeah, I'd say so.
So this is going to be the kickoff. We are going to be covering 1981's Possession. It is a movie I have watched exactly one time. It was within the last 24 hours, and I don't know. I feel like it's the kind of movie you got to see a couple times to really, really
doesn't get easier. It doesn't get easier.
Much like life and trauma, it doesn't get any easier the more you think about it.
And well, the funny thing is, earlier in the day, Abby and I watched Casino, which is another film filled with domestic violence, screaming, yelling,
a woman unhinged.
Hey, I don't want to talk about Casino too much because I kind of want to do an episode where it's which is better, Casino or Goodfellas, and we just talk about.
Well, we'll table that
because those are. Yeah, I don't want to get into that, but
yeah. Okay. But listen, happy October, happy Halloween. We're gonna have some fun this month. Thank you guys for being here, and we're gonna get into it pretty quickly. So all I'm gonna say is, if you haven't seen Possession, hit pause, go watch it, and then come back because this is about to get really weird. Abigail Gardner, how are you?
Doing well, thanks. It's exciting to be sitting down and recording YHS with like a fresh horror movie, like, you know, in the chamber. Something that we've all just watched together. Yeah. And I like that. It's kind of like it's just something I'm used to at this point. It's like our ritual in the fall time. So I'm happy to be sitting here talking. This was a harrowing movie. It's the kind of thing that gets under your skin and in your head. I did say at one point last night to Craig, I was like, I think this might be a museum of death experience for me. But that usually makes for the best conversation and the best dissection. So I'm excited that you brought this movie to us, Jacob. I'm grateful that you are our Grim Reaper, like the keeper of the horror lore, and that you share stuff with us. I think it's really important.
I've completed my job.
That's why we want to rehire you.
It's out of the question.
And what would be the reason for your refusal?
Family.
Maybe all couples go through this.
You have someone.
Yes.
Do you sleep with him?
Yes.
How long is it gonna last?
I don't know.
When I'm away from you, I think of you as an animal or a woman possessed, and then I see you again, and all this disappears.
You know, love isn't something you could just switch from channel to channel.
Who is he?
Do you believe in God? Is he there?
And Jacob, before you get started, I do want to let everybody know there was a hotly contested, kind of once this movie was on the block between Neon and A24, who was going to get the distribution rights. No, I'm just kidding. This movie's from 1981. When I watch, Jacob, a movie like this that is a little bit more avant-garde and a little bit left of center, it kind of makes you realize what the last 5 to 8 years of elevated horror have all been trying to do.
Yeah.
Not sure if they've gotten there, but Jacob, how are you, man?
Hey, I'm good. I'm glad that it's finally October. This is my favorite time of the year for many reasons. I love it. And I like when we do these, I I like picking movies for us to watch during Halloween time because like I like watching a lot of weird shit, and it bums me out when I can't get other people to watch the weird stuff. And sometimes movies like Possession or even more crazy films like. I learn a lot of stuff from watching Joe Bob, and sometimes he plays movies that I'm like, I have never heard of this, and now that I've seen it, I have nobody to talk to about this because nobody else has seen it. So I like when we can do this, and I can get you guys to watch movies that are either, old time favorites of mine, or even Possession is not. I've seen it. This was my third time watching it. It's within the last couple of years that it's even popped on my radar, but it has become one of my like. I was like getting ready to write a Letterboxd review last night, and I was like, I might be moving this to the like bottom of my top 4 in Letterboxd.
Going up a couple notches.
Yeah,
nice.
So yeah, I don't know. So that's why it's fun because it's the time where I can talk people into watching weird shit and be like, hey, watch this so we can talk about it.
Right. Well, this is a movie that I feel like we've been circling. You hear people talking about Possession. Jacob, I know this hit our radar a little bit when, what movie came out last year? The Omen, the first Omen. There was some like
I had already seen it, but
right
there is a scene in the first Omen that is just a. I don't want to say rip off because it wasn't
homage.
Done. It was done out of love, but it's like the same. I remember sitting in the theater and being like, oh. They're just doing Possession at this point, but
you turn to the guy behind you. You have popcorn. Hey, they're doing the Possession thing right now.
Possession. I can really quick before we get into it talk about how Possession like came on my radar. Like,
yeah, what's your history with this thing?
A couple years ago, so it's no secret that I watch Joe Bob: The Last Drive-In whenever I can, and when they're doing the double features on Joe Bob, they always show trailers in between for movies that are going to be like coming to Shudder soon.
Okay.
And during a Joe Bob episode, there was a trailer for Possession because it was getting added to Shudder, which was a big deal because Possession was like never really available, and I don't even think was available its uncut version in the United States until like 2012 or something like that. It's not, it had a lot of issues with its release and distribution. So it was getting put on Shudder, and there was a trailer for it, and it was the first time I'd ever there were like, there's moments that I'm like, oh, I've seen screenshots of her with the blood coming out of her mouth or whatever, but I never knew what it was. And then I'm like, Sam Neill from Jurassic Park, my favorite actor of all time, is in this weird horror movie that is like being really hyped up. And it was like a big deal that it was going to get added to Shudder. So as soon as it got added to Shudder, I watched it, and I was like, what the fuck? I was like, that might be my favorite thing I've ever seen. And then like really closely after that, a couple months later, Joe Bob did a presentation of it. So, it had all Joe Bob's commentary in between it, which I also rewatched the Joe Bob commentary.
I would like to see some of his commentary.
Well, listen, if you have AMC or Shudder or whatever, they do a thing on Shudder that's called Just Joe Bob. So if you aren't
sounds like we named that.
Yeah, if you aren't interested in watching the whole movie again, you can just go find the Possession segment, and it's like an hour, and it's just Joe Bob talking. They just cut the movie out. So yeah, it's like exactly, it's like a podcast.
That's awesome. Oh, I'm so glad.
Well, I don't know where to start with this movie, Abby.
Wanted to do a quick Joe Bob tie-in because he's in Casino for a moment, and that's it. We'll talk about the rest of that later.
He's the best.
Well, also one of my favorite parts of this movie, and the thing that I went to sleep thinking about last night when I woke up.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the part. I thought you were going to say the part I fell asleep during.
No, did not fall asleep.
No, this motherfucker did not fall asleep. He was up for the whole thing.
Not only was I up, I woke up this morning about, 8 a.m., maybe 7:30, and my first thought was, these people just have a kid named Bob, and that's hilarious to me. They fucking have a child?
Well, had a child.
Had a child.
Yeah.
And his name's Bob. And I like that. That's sign of the time.
Yeah. They had this cousin? Well, I had this cousin.
Right, exactly. Mallrats. Wait, no,
Nope. Dumb and Dumber.
Mallrat. Oh, I was thinking of the other thing. With
you're thinking of
the Jason
Walt.
Lee. I had this cousin. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He was a weird guy. Okay, well, let's get into it. Let's shake it off. I'm excited to talk about this. Let me do a little bit of table setting here. Possession, 1981. It's a psychological horror film. Sam Neill. Here's the thing. If I didn't know that was Sam Neill, I think it would have taken me a while. Like, he looks quite different.
Because he looks
a while.
Does it? I mean, he's younger, but he looks literally like Alan Grant.
Well, he didn't have a hat on. I think it's the hat.
Yeah, he's youthful in a way that I wasn't expecting, and he's also like emaciated and very like scrawny in the film. So there's a little.
He kind of looks like Sebastian Stan. A lot of that lately. But anyways, directed by Andrzej Zilowski. This is a French film. This is her only his. Is it a guy or girl director? Somebody explain this to me.
Director.
It's a guy director.
His only English movie, I believe. When the movie started, I was like, "Oh, this will just be subtitles." I thought I was expecting subtitles, but it was in English.
He purposefully did this in English because he wanted American distribution, which did not happen.
Which did not happen. Filmed in West Berlin in 1980, starring Sam Neill, and an incredible performance by an actress I've never seen before. And her name is what?
Isabella Johnny.
Isabella Johnny. So we'll get into more of the specs as we go. But let's just start with you, Abigail. First time viewing. Let's just get our initial impressions of this movie, off our chest before we really get into it.
Yeah, and I can even give a little context as to my background with. And I have seen like a few images. I knew that there was a woman with like a midnight blue dress that like had interesting buttons going down the back, and I thought in my mind, what I thought this movie was going to be was I thought it was going to be much more of like a B movie sci-fi, like sort of like silly body horror thing. So I had these like kind of like, I don't know, sort of naive walking into the movie, not really knowing what I was going to expect. I knew it was influential to you, Jacob, but when I sat down to watch it last night, it is one of those movies that like Suspiria, and this is probably because it's by a director that's not American, that is Polish and from another part of, in Europe. And it immediately was like starkly affronting to my senses and awakening me and pulling me in. The very opening, the first thing I woke up and wrote down this morning, because I was thinking about this movie, the architecture and the setting of crumbling East Berlin in this movie, the old European buildings, the fact that there's an utter absence of people and humanity. It's a singular film like that made it has like a distinct tone and theme as soon as you start it. And the fact that Sam Neill's in it, and like we were just talking when I saw him on screen, I was like, is that really Sam Neill? He doesn't look like he's doing well. Like something's going on.
Doesn't look like an archaeologist.
Yeah. And then as things sort of unfold, I was lapping it up and also kind of looking through my fingers at a few points. This movie made me feel the way that old Alfred Hitchcock movies, specifically the movie Marnie, used to really like mess with my head. So I give it huge points for the architecture and for the setting. And I'm a sucker for a woman unhinged going like, we were watching Casino. I was watching Sharon Stone and enjoying her madness. Watching this movie was an absolutely incredible descent into insanity and madness, and it was very disturbing but enjoyable.
All right, good stuff. Jacob,
hold on. I was gonna say, Abby, I'm glad you said Suspiria, because I think this movie has big like Suspiria vibes. Like I feel like when you watch the first time I watched Suspiria, I came out of it with the same kind of feelings I had when I watched Possession. You're like, it's really weird and haunting, and it's like really beautiful to look at, but then it also gets really hard to look at in certain moments, and you like there's also like a I think there's a little bit of an element of comedy in this movie. Like there are times where
I had a couple laughs.
like,
yeah.
I mean, if you're not laughing at Heinrich almost all the time, like there's a scene where he's having this conversation with Mark, Sam Neill's character, and he's like dancing through the entire scene because he's like high, I guess he's on drugs or something. But the whole scene is so funny. They're just watching those two characters interact because Sam Neill hates him, and he really loves when Heinrich is feeling bad about something or worried, and he's like reveling in the fact that this guy who's having sex with his wife is it's just there's some really funny line deliveries. Sam Neill delivers whenever it's crazy because this happens during an awful part of the film, but whenever Sam Neill is slapping Isabel in the face, he says, "Do you know what this is for?" And then he says, "The lies," but he says it
the way he says it, the lies.
He goes, "The lies," and there's like there are YouTube remix videos of that because it's really up close and he says it in the most comical way, and I feel like some of that has to be it has to be on purpose. Like some of that comedy is in there. It's got to be for real.
Yeah, I mean that to me bleeds into like the writing of Stephen King and like when madness happens, when strange repetition of words and like obsessive loops start to happen, you start laughing at some point. Something gets funny at some point. Yeah.
It also reminds me of like real life. This movie opens in the middle of a fight, and there's the first half of the movie is just like this couple, this relationship ending, and there's really awful fights. But like sometimes when you're in fights like that for real, somebody says something and it makes you laugh and you want to laugh at them. And it's like it all feels pretty real.
Yeah, no, I agree. Craig and I have had some like wonderful one-liners that have come from huge fights that will still repeat.
Yeah.
So there's a cathartic element to watching the two of them for the first part of the movie. And the crumbling of their relationship is at least what that first part is. It feels like, okay, so this is going to be a study on the deterioration of their relationship and how that goes. But then like an amazing movie does, like it veers into places that you'd never think you could go and asks questions that you don't have answers to. But yeah, the humor is something I really appreciate, Jacob.
So let me shout out. I got a lot of thoughts. I don't even know where to start. The first thing I'm going to say is that, listen, we do a lot of different types of, content and coverage on YHS. Obviously, we are very like franchise forward. We talk obviously Ghostbusters and Star Wars, DC, Marvel, and that whole world. We talk about horror. Horror is a very popular genre. It's very accessible. I think this is like if you're not the kind of person who normally would like check out like a cult classic foreign film, a little bit, like I said, left of center, a little bit more avant-garde, a little bit more, a little bit more on the surreal side. If that's not always your bag, but if you're interested in that type of viewing experience, I think this is a really good movie to start with, because even though it's weird and terrifying and beautiful and all the things you guys are saying, I do find it to be accessible in the sense that
it's in English, so it makes it easier for people who like, I don't mind when a movie's not in English, but some people who aren't used to this kind of movie, if it was also in another language, you would be reading it and not understanding what's happening. So you got Sam Neill, who's like,
Sam Neill.
Yeah, know Sam Neill, like it's in English. And even though it does get confusing in parts, it's kind of part of the fun of the movie, I think.
Yeah, it's not. The story is told fairly linearly. I try that word every week and it never works.
You'll get it one day.
In a linear fashion, but there is like some flashback and stuff like that. But for the most part, you can come out of it. And I think the most fun of a movie like this is being able to discuss it and explore its themes. And, it is like an art house type movie, low budget, controversial. But in the context of 2025, I think it's a really fun starting place if this
Mhm.
isn't like your normal type of film that you take
Yeah,
in.
controversial and banned in the UK for like a period of time, which that's something.
Oh wait, I've been wanting to do this. Ready? Video nasty. I love
Yeah.
doing that.
But what's crazy is like, yeah, it was banned for a long time. It was on the video nasties list. It didn't get distribution. So like there was an edited version that they released where they took 43 minutes out of it. They
I read about that.
hours.
They redubbed some of the lines. Some of the scenes are placed out of order. Apparently, it's a really awful cut of the movie. That
Okay.
was what was available for a while. So this movie was banned. It didn't get good distribution, and then it didn't even get like a wide release over here until 2012. Hey, but also it premiered at the Cannes Film Festival, and Isabella Adjani won the Best
Yeah.
Actress
That's just
award
Best
at
Actress,
the
right.
Cannes Film Festival
Yeah.
for this film, which is,
And,
I think, a
hey,
big deal.
I do want to say something going forward. If
Yeah.
you are going to say the words, they have to come out like this. Video nasty. I just
I'm not
want.
gonna- I'm not
everyone
going to do that.
to-
I'll just point at you if I'm going to.
Nasty girl. That's what I'm gonna sing.
So that was the first thing I wanted to say.
Adjani, I did 5 Caesar Awards, 2 Academy Award nominations, and yeah, that Cannes, which is goes without
Yeah.
saying. I mean, she was
Yeah.
the standout in the movie. And I
You
literally
guys,
did a deep
okay,
dive
you
on her
guys.
person.
Once a week, we're gonna have one of these. It's Con. Okay,
The
Abigail.
Cannes,
The
sorry,
Cannes.
whatever.
Cons,
Hey, listen.
trauma,
Trauma.
say it right.
Listen, hold on. Shout out to Bruno Newton. I don't know if that's how you say his last name. Never heard of him before. He's the cinematographer on this movie. The first thing that stood out to me, holy shit. This movie, they filmed the fuck out of this movie. It's a lot. There's a lot of handheld shots. There's a lot of like twirling around Sam Neill's character, and like you go in one door, you come out another door. Like it's beautifully shot. It's unnerving. It's exactly what I complain about modern low budget shit movies. Like, hey, get a camera, hold it, and get up close and personal with your characters. Like, what are these like? Oh, don't get me started on indie filmmaking. Okay.
Yeah. On that
Yeah.
note, there in the first act of the movie, there's a close up like 360 shot around Sam Neill, like in his room. That I was reading about the cinematographer. He was using like a steady cam for it, but
Sure.
but to be that close like that, oh my God. It really brings you into the tension. It's incredible.
Yeah.
But my last point, and Jacob, I'm going to throw it back to you on this. For somebody, Jacob, who is, and this is what I was joking about with Abby this morning, we're not a political podcast. Jacob, you're not interested in politics. None of us are, whatever. But I was so surprised at the actual political nature of this movie and how I think there's a lot going on in this movie. There's a lot of different interpretations, and maybe we'll get into all of that. But there's clearly like it is a sign of the times of what is going on with like East Berlin and West Berlin and the Soviet control,
Yeah.
and the kind of like Abby was pointing out, like just how like gray it all feels. And
Sure.
not
Mhm.
to skip too far ahead, but like there's some foreshadowing with Bob throughout the film with the sirens, and then open to interpretation of what's happening at the end, but sounds like it could be a war or World War III or a nuclear war or something. So like there is like this like kind of like political kind of narrative happening through the movie, which actually is very interesting to me. So I really appreciated that aspect of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, that kind of stuff is like, I don't know a ton about Berlin and the Berlin Wall, and like only like little bits that you get in school, which isn't much,
Right.
because they don't teach you really in depth about
No,
other
dude, we
countries.
spent a
and
lot of
stuff.
time on Jimmy Carter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the first time I watched it, that kind of stuff was just like, whatever, that's part of the movie, I don't care.
Right.
But then the more you research the film, like I was reading a lot of stuff about the director, and like, he was talking about he was going through this really awful divorce when he wrote this movie, and a lot of the stuff from the beginning of the film is like from his real life. Hey, the whole thing where they leave Bob in the house for 3 weeks,
the jam
that really
that I
happened.
read.
That
Yeah.
him and his wife actually did that to their kid, and but then also he lived through the split of Berlin and East and West Berlin, so it's like he's like, of course you're gonna write the things that so divorce that, and then he's like, oh, I guess I like
Parallel.
horror, let me put this in a fucking so yeah, like that kind of stuff while maybe I used to live in a world where you could just be like a non-political person all the time,
Yeah.
like not to get into politics, like I feel like we live in a world now where it's really just saying like I'm not a political person, like that's not a thing that exists anymore. Like we live in a really weird, fucked up world where I don't know, that you can't sit around and do that anymore. So. But like watching a movie like this, where it's politics of another country and it's just something I've never really learned about, it's like you're also getting a little bit of a history lesson, especially if you do any research as to what, like we found an article about this movie and about like trying to explain what things mean. And it was so very political and about Berlin and the wall and all that. So, yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing, Abby, maybe I would love your thoughts on this. I mean, the director had like, he was a political guy, and this is a time where there was a lot of like communist government in I think he was from Poland, and
Poland literally fucked with him with his filming and release like multiple times, multiple movies.
Did he do that movie The Devil? They talked about that. But there's like we are living in a time where the political nature of like the United States right now is what is the number one topic of discussion right now? It's censorship and the right to free speech. And so the fact that literally 45, 50 years later, our country is dealing with, on both sides, really, it's really kind of, I think it's an important movie. I really felt coming out of Possession, I was like, this was an important movie for me to watch tonight.
This movie is a study about the divide of two halves that made a whole and what happens when they separate. Like that is a theme that is still current in America, division, having two sides and not helping each other out, and what happens when you don't have that support system, and when that breaks, and the madness that follows and the chaos. I loved the fact that this is a heavily shrouded, deeply metaphored story. I think that that is something that I miss in modern horror movies, and I'm always looking for. You all probably saw me talking about weapons, and I had my deep thoughts about how this is about like child abuse and different things. Like that's what I crave. That's what I long for in a movie. I want something that I wake up the next morning and have to read a lot of articles about and like feel like I need to call my therapist about. That is what I love. So the fact that this had so much deep symbolism in it, that's how it lasts for me. That's like a lasting quality.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, let's kind of get into the actual plot of this movie, because we're talking about it fairly abstract right now, or in an abstract nature. So you've got this couple, it's Sam Neill and Isabel. What's his character name?
Mark and Anna / Helen, the other character.
Oh my god, I completely forgot about I forgot about the doppelgangers.
It's made for us Americans.
I know. I was like, Mark and Anna.
Anna.
They're in the middle of this horrible divorce. She's cheating on him. She's having this affair. It takes place in this apartment with like bare walls, and Bob. They're now a
really strange shaped kitchen. That they
weird
film a
kitchen.
lot of they film a lot of scenes in the kitchen, and it's really small, but it's also like a very interesting. I've never seen a kitchen shaped like that before, and I was like, "Is that why they film so much of this?" Because your first instinct is to be like, "It's a very tiny room. Why are they setting so much of the why is so much of the set in the kitchen?"
Yeah, you feel that tight space sets the tension between the two of them as they're trying to like maneuver around each other after the opening, which is you find out that she's having an affair, and that's kind of like what sets the movie off. But
also a lot of meat grinding.
Hey, I love yep, there is. Well, before we get too deep, I love so like the movie opens, Joe Bob mentioned that the director has a famous quote saying that openings of movies are 99% useless. They're your opening scene in your movie is always crap because it never actually means anything to the rest of the movie, which is why his opening of the movie literally opens in the middle of an argument. Like Sam Neill gets out of the car and they're in the middle of a conversation that they've already been having. just because it's like, what's the point of any other kind of opening? Just get to it. So the movie starts and they're just fighting. But they have this really wonderful fight. And it's like the first time that it really gets like, oh, these people are having a bad day, when they're in the restaurant and they're like, they're sitting next to each other, but not at the same booth. And they start by talking, and then it instantly moves to like screaming, and Sam Neill's throwing chairs, and they're like trying to, you know, people are trying to escort them. That scene is so crazy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's where you're like, oh, that's just without a supernatural or like a metaphorical element. That's just like real shit right there. That's just a couple fucking losing it and crumbling.
The supernatural shit does not come in until probably 40 minutes in or something. It's just about this couple for the first bit.
And like we talked about the descent into madness, and like that's, I mean, honestly, when you think about like The Shining, and there's parallels. I mean, here's a quote from Sam Neill. He says, "It's one of the best films I was lucky to be in. My sanity was barely intact after filming." So like as an actor, they are dialed up to like 13 this entire movie, all of them, everybody on screen, even the guy with the pink socks. I mean, it is just like but it's brutal. Especially if you, let's see how real we want to get. If you grew up in a home that had any level of domestic violence, which a lot of people unfortunately have.
Child abuse or neglect,
I mean, there's some tough stuff in this movie. Trigger warning, that's what they call those. But 100%, you're kind of really thrown into like the deep end on their crumbling relationship. And some of the like context, like it kind of seems like Bob's not his actual kid. Is that part of like the thing too? Like I might have to rewatch it, because he says, "I'm not going to be Bob's weekend dad." Like I tried, but I didn't know if that meant that he was the stepdad.
No. It's his kid, but he's saying he doesn't want to be the weekend dad because he would only see Bob on the weekend. Like
right.
So he's like, I'm out of his life.
The new guy would become Bob's new dad, you know. So he would
Heinrich and mother.
Heinrich.
Oh, Heinrich and mother. And then one more quote that's kind of interesting to set the context here. On the director, Sam Neill said, "I didn't like him much. What he saw as direction often was just downright bullying, but he had a vision. He was a true cineast. What's that? Cineast.
Gary Sinise.
Yeah. And they are rare. So yeah, the parallels to Kubrick. Like, you're gonna get one hell of a film. You're all gonna hate me.
But you're all going to therapy. Yeah.
You're all going to therapy. Those who watch it will go to therapy. Those who are in it will go to therapy. And I was reading about the Isabel Johnny. She went through a lot of stuff after the filming of the movie. Heavy stuff. Yeah.
What kind of stuff?
There's a suicide attempt, which to me, like spending that amount of time in that disorienting and that like not like that level of insanity to get to where she got, because there are, and we'll get to the subway scene. There's moments that.
Wait a minute, we're not talking about that movie Friendship.
Oh my God, I knew you were going to fucking. As soon as Abby said Subway, I go, here comes Craig with this dumb friendship joke.
After the movie last night, I walked in, I came up with a great line. I went up to Abby, I was like, "Hey, let's watch Phantom Thread. I heard there's a lot of good symbolism in that movie." Boom! She literally laughed.
I laughed. I was like eating it up. I was like, yes, just fun popcorn comedy jokes. Actually, after watching Possession, I had to go to recover from it. I went in the room and our bedroom, and I watched The Brady Bunch, a very Brady sequel, because I needed something really stupid and silly. And I wanted to watch Jan Brady with her fake boyfriend, George Glass, at a coffee shop. And so I did. Because
back to the plot.
Yeah, let's do the plot.
Because it's fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They're going through the divorce. She kind of like says, "I'm not with somebody," but then he finds out he's calling Margie, who's her friend, which is like a whole other weird piece of this movie.
Is she? I don't know. That whole thing.
I don't know what Margie is.
It felt like that her and Sam Neill maybe had like a past relationship.
Yeah.
something of that
no.
nature, cheating on. Yeah.
She did spend a good amount of time in the trunk of his car. Completely forgot about that till she fell out.
She didn't know she was there.
And then things like we said, descent into madness. He's trying to figure out how to save his relationship with his wife. Bob, the child, is showing signs of like, obviously he's being neglected. He's got this obsession with sirens and the police, and he keeps doing this wee you kind of thing throughout the movie. And then it just kind of, what happens? Like it gets weirder and weirder.
Well, let's also say before we get to the really weird stuff, Sam Neill's character Mark, his job is that he's a spy.
Right.
Yeah,
Oh,
like
he had just
background.
returned. Right.
Yeah,
right.
there's a few like pretty weird scenes where he's, doing spying type stuff. But then like you find out that Anna is having a second affair with a thing, something like some creature that it lives in her apartment. She moves out, gets her own apartment. It's this like really rundown apartment, and there's a thing that lives in it that the first time you see it, it just looks like a pulsating broken bowl of jello or something. And every time you see it, it is like more shaped like something different, and it's got tentacles, and then it becomes a film where she's bringing it people or killing people and bringing the people to the thing. There's body parts in her refrigerator. She's having sex with this thing. And then there's also doppelgangers in the movie. Yeah. And there's like another Helen, Helen is a doppelganger of Anna, and she works at the school.
She's the teacher.
Mark starts a relationship with her because he's like, well, Anna's gone. Well, Helen's all the stuff that I wanted out of Anna.
Exactly. Right. Yeah.
So like he gets her, but then she's got green eyes and the creature's got green eyes. And you're like, wait, what is happening? And then the end of the movie, the creature turns into Mark's doppelganger. And it's like an evil Mark, and it can tell people to do things, and they do it. And then together, the doppelgangers bring about the apocalypse.
Well, on the surface, that was a good synopsis.
Yeah, that was a good reader's
plot of Possession.
I feel like everybody listening goes, "Oh, I get it now." Totally.
Ew. But then when you go and read further, and it's like, wait, what about Faith and Chance? Was the creature one of the dots? I know. I mean, first of all, amazing writing and acting for that scene. But yeah.
I want to say, before we get too far into that, Joe Bob does not like the Faith and Chance monologue.
Okay.
He was saying they should have left that out, because he's like, this whole movie is a lot of show don't tell, and then there's this scene where it's just like, let's just describe it directly into the camera.
When he hires so she's obviously like having the affair with Heinrich.
Yeah.
And we talked about him a little bit. He's great.
I think he's awesome.
He almost kisses Sam Neill so many times.
He wants to. He's just like he reminds me of he kind of reminds me of Aldous Snow and Forgetting Sarah Marshall. He just loves everybody, and he's just like, there's no need to fight. Let's just fucking be cool. Like, whatever,
cool, man. Yeah, she's with me. She's with you. Doesn't matter.
It's great. Yeah, he's like pansexual, super fun. I had that thought. I was like after watching the movie, I was like, could all of this have been avoided if they had just had like a normal threesome together and just
Chasing Amy rules. Chasing Amy rules.
Dude. Yeah, that applies to so many things. So much bloodshed could have been avoided if there's just a normal, healthy threesome. But yeah, his character is awesome. I agree with you guys, and provides a lot of like comedic relief. And talk about a way to go out.
Yeah, I think that would have been.
Yeah, I felt bad for him.
That would actually. Well, that's interesting that you bring up the threesome, because when you go back to the other scene in the kitchen with the meat, she was making a spit roast. Is everyone really mad at me right now?
I don't want to laugh at that.
I don't want to laugh at that, but can we talk about the meat scene?
Let's do it. Let's get into
meat grinder. Yeah. The second that you see the steaks and she gets the knife out, it's just like, oh my God, something is going to happen.
That electric knife. I was like, that's either going to her wrist or her neck or.
Well, that scene goes
Yeah.
on for a long time, and and she gets really, really into like grinding that meat. She's like really
Mhm.
animated with it, but it's all
Mhm.
happening during like a pretty crazy argument. But the tension builds for so long, and I'm like, what is she going to put her hand in this meat grinder or something? But then nothing happens with the meat grinder. It's the knife. She picks up the knife out of nowhere, and she tries to cut herself with it, and then walks out of the room, and then Sam Neill's like, fuck it, and he cuts himself with it. And
yeah. It's all joking aside, it's a tough watch at times, and I think that's where some of my deflection into humor comes from, because I mean there's this once he meets Anna, who is the school teacher who looks just like his wife, and it's open to interpretation of
Helen.
Oh,
Helen looks like Anna.
Does she actually look like her, or is this like a commentary on how humans try to turn other people into like their ideal like you can get into that like more heady kind of interpretation.
Well, I think you can until there's a doppelganger of Sam Neill as well, and then you're like, oh well, no, there's just another one.
But when he goes and first confronts Heinrich, and Heinrich beats the shit out of him, and then he goes home, and he really, it's a very violent man hitting a woman scene, and it's not an easy watch, and it's not fun. And then it kind of leads to this kitchen scene that we're talking about with the knife. And it's like, the movie never, like, one pet peeve of mine is when people describe movies as slow. I hate that. Life is slow. Okay. Been living in the same house for 8 years. I'm doing the exact same thing right now I was doing 8 years ago. I'm talking about a movie, the same fucking life moves slow. Yeah. But there is a point in the movie where you're a lot of it is this like I was really focused on the cinematography and the scenery and just kind of like the visuals of what I'm seeing, and how much I was like, okay, this setting is really like influencing how I feel about the movie. But once this stuff starts happening, once he visits Heinrich, once there's fighting, like it gets really brutal really fast, and like they kind of like amp up that energy the whole time. But it leads to him hiring this private investigator to follow her. And that's where you find the other apartment. Abby, I was obsessed with that other apartment because it reminded me of Home Alone 2 a little bit.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, what is this magical empty apartment? This is great.
Derelict, amazing place. Yeah. The wallpaper reminded me of the wallpaper that Andy Muschietti used in the chapter
Flash.
1 of It in the Neibolt house. Oh. Yeah, actually. That's what it was reminding me of. But yes, like the fact that this is set in a crumbling, like I keep saying that word, but like in an old space like that.
Well, it feels like she's not supposed to be in there. Like she's just found
squatting. Yeah,
like she's squatting or something. It's like it's literally falling apart. Yeah. And you wouldn't also think, I don't know, like there's nothing about that character that you get beforehand that would think like, why would she even live why would she be here? You know what I mean? That is kind of not there's no answers as to, first of all, what the creature is, where it came from, how she got mixed up with it. They don't like how it found her or how she found it or when the influence on her mind that it has, because it does. The movie's called Possession. It does have an influence over people, but it doesn't answer when that starts or how. It's just there. It's just you go to her apartment and it's just happening. Right.
You're not offered any kind of like rules to this world, and I like that though, because that's what makes it fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I did read a little bit about the chance and faith theory, explaining that is that she gave birth to that creature when she was, because she has the subway scene where she miscarries. I don't know if I believe all that, and there's so much interpretation that people say about this movie. I kind of like the idea of it. Just, I mean, woman fucks demon is like my favorite thing. So
we know,
we all know that.
But then there are questions.
That scene, I was like, good for her.
Yeah, but then there are questions like, so if Helen, who is a doppelganger of Anna, is also a creature, somebody had to fuck that creature and feed that creature. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
where did that
Yeah.
one? The first time you see that one, it's just fully formed, and you don't understand. You don't understand what the creature is until the very end when Sam Neill shows up, and you're like, oh, it turned into Sam Neill. It's
Okay,
it's a
so we're on the
doppelganger
same
of him. But the Helen is Ben in the movie. You know what I mean? And you're
Is there a chance?
You're to think that Helen is also a creature, but it's like, well, where did that one come from?
Okay, what's the teacher's
I think
name?
it's Fight
Helen?
Club.
Helen.
Is there a chance? Okay, I have not read him. This is just off the cuff. Is there a chance that Anna is a doppelganger of Helen? Like it's the other way around. Like she's a creature
No.
the whole time. No, okay. All right.
No, I don't think so.
She had a physical
because-
child with Sam Neill,
And
I
because
think-
we watch Anna's creature transform into, and they have the
The
green
Sam Neill.
eyes. They have the green eyes. So.
Mhm.
Can we the miscarriage subway scene is kind of this like this is a small movie.
Just
I
talk
think
about
maybe
it, yeah.
I think it's getting like maybe it's seeping into the culture more. Like that my barometer of like if things are becoming popular is if I'm talking about
When
it.
you
Like,
find out about it,
yeah. This is like when my
Oh,
dad told me sound
we just
bars were getting,
discovered.
my dad once called me and told me sound bars were getting really big in the Chicago suburbs because he got
fucking won an award at the 1981 Cannes Film
Yeah,
Festival.
yeah,
And
yeah.
Greg's like, oh, there's this new movie.
There's this new movie.
Yeah.
But this is kind of a big part of this movie, and she recounts. Is this right? I'm trying to. I only saw it the one time. Is this during the Faith and Chance story, or is that a separate scene?
Well, I think part of the faith and chance happens before. Like
Okay.
I think the main part of it happens before the subway scene, but then
Okay.
there's more talk of it after.
Mhm.
Gotcha. Okay. She recounts having this awful. It looks like she's birthing something, but it's described in as a miscarriage, and there's blood and pus and
It's
white
weird
liquid.
because it's
Gross.
described as a miscarriage, but then sometimes it's also described as a birth. So it's like,
right.
I don't know. You're not. Who knows?
Yeah. It's pretty open ended for interpretation. I think the major takeaway from it is that it's like incredibly iconic and
One take.
probably
They filmed it in one take.
yeah, I read that. I read they took a second take, but they never used it just because they were afraid that the film would get corrupted.
Yeah.
But they did that first take is the one that made it. And it's probably the most like possessed, the most like incredible performance that I've ever seen. I've never seen a human being move the way that she did. I've never seen milk be used in such a terrifying way. It's just the filth and the dirt in that subway area. Just, I mean, I've been in train stations. I think of LA, I think in New York, and I'm just like, oh God, I can't believe she's rolling around in it. And the
I want to go to that
pain.
filming location.
I would love
We should go
to.
there.
Yeah.
They did that. They filmed that at like 5 a.m. when there was no people.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. I've mentioned that the absence of other people walking
Yeah.
around and milling about is felt and it lends to the isolation, like the feeling of like losing it and you're alone and you're trapped in it.
Yeah.
The thing that really, thank you, Abby. The thing that I find the most interesting from like a sociological standpoint in this movie is the way a relationship is portrayed. And it's two people who clearly are bad for each other, trying to make it work, trying to like make the other one be the version of themselves that they want them to be, ultimately leading in both of their destruction. I mean, he's killing her, he's killing himself, he's jumping off the balcony, and like we've all been in relationships, we've all been in knockdown, drag out fights. You say crazy things in fights sometimes, but we've all also known people who have been in like tough relationships, and like, you know, when you see somebody with the wrong person and it's clear to everybody, but like those are the things that are in this movie that I can't wait to rewatch it, because I feel like the director's really trying to say a lot about just like relationships in general, whether it's the relationships like that we have with our you know, our life partners or our husbands or wives or whatever, but also like exploring the relationship between somebody confronting the person that you're wife is cheating on you with, and that guy just being like, hey man, it's all cool. Like, how do you deal with that? Or the Margie thing where it's like there's this friend, but who is like it's just there's weird stuff. I can't wait to dig in further. Because I think I'm trying to figure out exactly what the director's trying to say. Or if he's trying to say anything.
I think that it's really clear that his brutal divorce was like the drive behind creating the movie. I think that there were some moments where I felt like, oh man, is this going to all fall on Anna's shoulders because she's unfaithful? And I was like, is that sort of a negative depiction of women following their, sexual desires and then being vilified in like a scarlet letter kind of way? But as the movie continues and ends, I was just like, I don't think that this is anti-woman. I don't think that this is something against that, but it is a definite study in what happens when trust is broken. I think that when Sam Neill walks in on his wife Anna fucking the monster, I think that's kind of probably metaphorical for how the director felt when he found out his wife was cheating on him, kind of a thing. Like that. And I think I read that, but that does feel like a really good, like, oh, okay. Yeah. That's what it feels like.
Well, they also start to like, they also do this thing where, you find out she's the one cheating, and it's easy to like vilify a person when you find out they're cheating or something like that. But then Mark literally becomes a murderer. Like he kills Heinrich. He on purpose lures Heinrich into the bathroom and kills him in like a pretty fucked up way, and then tries to make it like an accident, and then like goes to his house. And that's, that I think that's right before he finds out about the creature or whatever. He does that. That whole scene in the bathroom where Mark is just like messing with Heinrich, and Heinrich's been stabbed at this point, and Heinrich has seen the creature, and he goes to Mark for help, and he's like, Mark, we have to help her. Like all he cares about is Anna, and he's like, we have to help her. We're the ones who know her, and Mark is like, yes, we do, and he's like reveling in the fact that Heinrich has been stabbed and is asking him for help.
Right.
And he hits him on the head and drowns him in a fucking toilet.
Yeah. He has a little plan.
There's a really great article. It's, I think, the one we were all referencing last night and this morning on Film Colossus about the ending. We're not going to read it or anything, but I would check it out if you're interested in this movie. If you watch it, I definitely think there's a lot in there to unpack. This is the kind of thing that I feel like we're going to be revisiting this conversation over time. But there's one part in there. It says the monster in her secret apartment is the physical embodiment of the collapse. When the tension between opposing forces, faith versus chance, cannot be balanced, the third possibility, madness or destruction, arises. Pretty cool. Like, I don't know if that's exactly what I was taking from it, but there is like, when you're dealing with any kind of trauma in your life, right? When you are, just getting real for a second, when you are dealing with childhood trauma or something traumatic that happens to you and you're trying to process it and you don't have all the tools to process it, there sometimes is a third kind of manifestation that pops up, right? Like, so like I'll give a personal, for instance, like I have anxiety that I take medication for that is triggered by personal traumas I've had. So it doesn't necessarily make sense from a psychological standpoint of why I could be having a great day in my adult life, sitting in the living room watching TV, and out of nowhere, I feel an overwhelming sense of like panic and doom related to something that happened 30 years ago that has nothing to do with anything happening in front of me now. But it's that manifestation of like a mental health, the madness. And listen, there's no monster in my closet. No one's having sex with any monster. Well, we all wear masks, Mr. Ipkiss. But I do think there's something there. There's like a kind of an advanced mental health kind of study about like when you go through really tough stuff, that energy has to go somewhere. And like in the movies, a lot of the time, sorry, I'm no rambling, but in the movies, a lot of times it's like you just face up against it and you rise above and triumph. But it's not really that simple.
Yeah, but it's like, okay, so maybe you just a few minutes ago I was talking about how there's no explanation as to like what the monster is, where it came from, how she. Well, maybe that's wrong. Maybe there is. In the first half of the movie, all the fighting, all of the hate and the abuse and the neglect, and also all the political happenings and all of that is the creature. Like that manifested. That's where the thing came from. When it's a little seed and it's pulsating, it's because of all of the negative. It's like Ghostbusters 2. It's like
it's the slime.
It's not actually. It's either like Ghostbusters 2 or somebody fucked up and fed that thing after midnight. It's one of those. Yeah. They kept feeding it until it became. They kept feeding it until it then turns into. I thought about this last night too. It also feels like Little Shop of Horrors because there's this monster and it's growing and everybody else can see like, hey, that's not normal. But she's like, no, I just got to feed it and it will be fine. So she keeps feeding it. And she's like, in real life, she's feeding it people and blood and sex. But like metaphorically, she's feeding it like pain and, hate and all of this until it literally, until it literally turns into her husband and then destroys the world. Maybe, I don't know. The two of them come together and they bring upon, I don't know, whatever the fuck is happening at the apocalypse or World War III or whatever. Something not great is happening, and you get the sense that it's because of them. Abby. So I kind of like that we're working through this here. This is good.
We're figuring this movie out.
You got to figure it out because it needs to be figured out, and it's God damn it, I kind of think along the terms of like this monster was a physical representation and manifestation, of what happens when love falls apart and when we shut down and break. As people mentally and are left with isolation and mental illness. I think that the creature, I think it just belongs in that like otherworldly ethereal space of like, it's definitely a metaphor. This is not like a B movie, sci-fi like horror movie with like, just this weird monster that's like the whole plot. And
the monster, and then
that's what the edited version that was released in America originally was supposed to be, just more like, oh, this is a monster movie, and we took all the other shit out of it. But all the other shit means something, and I think the other shit is what the director was sorting through in his own life. And it's a bleak but beautiful study on the deterioration of love, romance, family unit, and in a larger scale, the country of Germany. That's not something that you can say about most horror movies, like the ones that are coming out these days. It's not really there. I think a lot of people want to watch horror movies, and be like, oh, look at this. It probably means this, but God, like what a giant fucking huge film that was just waiting for me to watch. That I'd never seen before. So I just want to say thank you, Jacob, for
you're welcome. I mean, hey, you're welcome to you and everybody who's going to watch this movie based on this episode. Hey, I want to talk about somebody who worked on this movie really quick.
Sure, yeah.
His name was Carlo Rambaldi.
Okay,
and he is the guy who did the special effects, and he did the creature, and this dude is probably more famous for doing the effects for E.T.
Okay.
But he did a lot of old horror films. He worked on Alien, and that was actually how he. So they originally wanted Geiger for this, and for whatever reason, don't know if it was like a money thing or Geiger just didn't want to work on it. But Geiger was like, I'm not going to do this, but you should work with my friend Carlo. Yeah. So Carlo did the effects for this movie, and they're really gnarly and gross. And I just think it's cool that guy who made all the weird shit in this also did E.T. There was also this really interesting thing that I read about him. It's on his Wikipedia. You can check it out. But he did work on some other movie that I had never heard of, the movie called A Lizard in a Woman's Skin. And I guess in that movie, there is some like dog mutilation or something. And he did all the effects for it. And apparently they're so good that the director was brought up on like animal cruelty charges and almost served a 2-year prison sentence. And they had to, the Rambaldi had to go to a courtroom with his props and be like, hey, I did all, this is all fake. I did it. He had to like convince them that there was no actual, animal cruelty in the movies. Like it was all special effects. And I don't ever want to see whatever that movie is, but
right.
I wrote the name down.
That's
I'm
pretty
like,
impressive. It's pretty impressive. But I just think it's funny that the guy who made this alien also made E.T.
Speaking of metaphor and dialogue in the movie, there's this ongoing thing where Sam Neill talks about, and this was just triggered to talk about the dog, where he talks about a dog dying under a porch and yelping before he died. Like, what? I was having trouble following what he was saying.
The only thing, me too. And it's only mentioned like once or twice, and then you do see a dead dog floating in a river or something at some point, and it's a very quick thing. In reading about this film, I found one article that said that the director mentioned that stuff was supposed to be like a parody of Western commentary film, but I'm like, okay, I don't, that's something I don't understand, or I don't get what that means, or how that equates to how the dead dog thing equates to, American movie making. But that's, we haven't figured that one out yet.
I couldn't figure that one out either, but I did read that and I was like, oh, it's okay. Not so sure.
So one thing I wanted to do is we, talk about these movies, and we talk about these deep dives as we go throughout the whole month of October and beyond, because I think this is a really fun format, and it really it allows me to kind of engage with a movie that I not normally wouldn't watch, but haven't seen before, and really do a deep dive, and I like talking about it. But I want to talk about the physical media availability of Possession. So I did a little bit of research. It looks like there is a limited edition Blu-ray that came out a couple years ago. And it is not Mondo, but the release is called Mondo Vision. It's not by the company Mondo, it's something else. Looks like it's pretty expensive. There's been rumors of a 4K release at some point, but on the research I did, it looks like this 1981 or not 1981, I don't know, Possession, limited to 2,000 numbered sets, Blu-ray, all regions. It's about $80 or $90. And then it looks like there was a VHS at some point, but man, I bet that's a rare boy.
Yeah, it was released on VHS. I think there's a couple different versions of it that were released on VHS, because I checked. That was the first thing I checked when I saw it the first time was, is this? Yeah, so if you look it up, the first one that pops up on eBay says $450 or best offer. You know what I mean? So like it does exist, but who knows if you're going to be able to find it.
Yeah. Well, maybe it looks like some people have made custom versions. Maybe we'll really get the Possession world talking again, and we can kind of get one of these other companies that can do a VHS release. I really like, Abby, reading about Sam Neill talking about, like, there was a screening in 2019 at a film festival, and even in 2019, it still really divided the audience. Like, there are people who watch this movie and go, that's utter shit, doesn't make sense. And there's people who go, hey, this is a masterpiece and it's really saying something. I can't watch a movie one time and call it a masterpiece, but I really, really liked it, and I've been thinking about it all day, and I'm going to revisit it.
I think, like, even if you watch this movie and okay, so like, sure, some of it is hard to follow and some of it might not make sense to you, but on the surface, like, it's pretty straightforward, like, movie about these people who might hate each other, and then like a monster shows up. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, that stuff is not there's more to it and you can dig in deeper, but like if you're watching a movie just for the surface level and you're not interested in like diving in, I think you can still watch this movie and enjoy it. It's like it's a pretty weird film with a crazy looking creature, and there's murders and death, and it's acted really, really well. And it has like it is going to make you feel multiple emotions. Like you'll feel sad, you might laugh here and there. Like there's cool stuff to look at. Like this is a movie worth watching, whether you think it makes sense or not.
Sure.
Just to add to that, Isabella Johnny's performance, she's like gorgeous and magnetic and like
she's awesome.
Extremely sensual. And like, personally, that was the stuff that I was like, okay, there's a lot of like hard stuff in this movie, but watching her, I can't take my eyes off of her. Like she deserves every accolade and every award that she's gotten for this. And I do, my heart hurts a little bit hearing that she went through difficulty after this, but she seems like a cool person.
And she's still acting. But it's mainly just in like Italian things, like whatever, shows and stuff, but she's still out there doing work.
Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously Sam Neill's had a really awesome career. And
he's done okay.
I'd love to hear him talk more about this movie, because like I saw that he talked about it a little, like very, very briefly in his book that he wrote, but it's not much. He just talks about like how, and there's the stuff you read, Craig, where he talks about how the director was like a really, stern, hard director to work with. But other than that, I could not find one film like interview with, because I just really wanted to see Sam Neill talk about this. Sure. Dude, that is one of the things, like, I mean, Jurassic Park is, my second favorite movie of all time. I love it. I've always really connected with that film, and Sam Neill in it is all, like, if you asked me who my favorite actor was, I would say Sam Neill. And it's mainly because of Jurassic Park. But after, Jurassic Park came out in 1993, I was 8 years old. And then as I, became older and started getting into horror stuff, I was like, oh, Sam Neill's in one of the Omen movies, and like it's pretty good. Yeah. And then it's like, oh, Sam Neill was in the Mouth of Madness, which is like a really crazy, awesome horror film, John Carpenter. And it's like, oh, Sam Neill was also in like he did a lot of horror stuff when he was younger, and he talks fondly of all of it. And it's like, oh, Sam Neill is amazing. He's like, he's an awesome dude. And I am a little bummed that I could not find more. I wanted to watch an interview of him talking about Possession, and I could not that I'm not saying there's none of that out there, but I couldn't find any of it. So I would love for somebody to, I want to go to a Possession screening with Sam Neill and let him get up there and do some fucking Q&A.
It looks like they did a 4K restoration in 2021 and showed it at Fantastic Fest.
Well, I think that is the first time it was, I think that is the first time the full version was actually shown here or released here.
Mm-hmm.
Abby, any other additional?
I wanted to add one thing, because you're talking about how much you love Sam Neill. I wanted to bring up another actor that you love, because I was reading about Isabella Johnny, and she dated Daniel Day-Lewis from 1989 to 1995.
Of course she did. Of course
she fucking did.
That's how she got some of that acting.
Yeah, I know. How she got a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Again, good for her.
Yeah, even though it was 10 years later. I really, really liked it. And I mean, there's just, I can talk about this till I'm blue in the face, but when I watch The Exorcist or The Omen or Rosemary's Baby or any of the, Italian horror of the time, like this movie, Possession, they just look so good. And like camera movement, dude, 70s, all these 70s movies, and it's not just horror. They do it in Rocky, they do it in The Godfather, but where it's like a still shot and then a slow zoom in, and it just goes for like 2 minutes.
We can go off on a whole other rant about how, like, cinematography and set dressing and all these things like used to be like an art form. And I mean, they still are. And I'm not saying that everybody, but nowadays you kind of have like the Michael Bay school of filming where the people who are getting hired for some of these jobs, who are doing the cinematography now, they're just people who know how to work the equipment. They might not necessarily have a vision on how they don't care how it fucking looks. Maybe some directors don't focus as much on that part of filmmaking anymore. But when you watch a lot of these older horror films, also just the fact that they're on film makes it look better by itself. But back then you feel like, especially these fucking Italian horror movies, all of those dudes are obsessed with how the camera moves or what color things are. Like, I bet you some of those Italian directors spend more time on what shade of green and red they want in the background of their shot than most directors now will spend on anything.
Whoa.
And I just want to agree with you, Jacob. And because when you're bringing up color palette, that's what I'm thinking of is the living room from this movie that Anna and Mark live in. How there's various shades of blue throughout it that have all been handpicked. And when I think about the color blue, you think it's like a natural, like, oh, it's not a frightening color. But when you see it in this movie, the way that it's introduced, it is a depressing color.
It's like turned into a weapon.
Yeah, it's like a blue period. Yeah, and it reminds me, I always bring up this factoid about Alfred Hitchcock, how he served a all blue meal once to like a large group of people just because he like got off on the fact that blue is not appetizing. So like to play with color.
He would have loved in the early 90s when like they were doing like purple ketchup and shit like that.
Dude.
He would have
always said that about Hitchcock.
Long enough to see
he
the
would have loved this.
Alfred.
You're putting purple ketchup on a hot dog. Alfred Hitchcock would have really.
Well, I also noticed
Kelly and purple ketchup.
Sam Neill's wearing green sweaters the entire movie.
I was gonna say, just to finish the little bit of my last thought. So like I feel like everything in that apartment complex was specifically picked out, possibly by the director, but layered and set there with reasons so that you got all these layers of blue, which make you feel depressed on the inside. What movies nowadays do, like what horror movies that are, they put a fucking filter on it, and you know
just
what?
Put an Instagram filter. Just film it, and then put an Instagram filter on it. Yeah.
Yes, I totally agree. When it's like, what about the meticulous like stacking and making a space feel lived in, or filming in a lived in space that is cramped and tight like that, and that is strange, like the length and the narrowness of the room. It's all off putting, and that's such masterful work, and that's not something you can see when people are trying to do it on the cheap. Yeah, they put a filter on that shit, and I don't like it. Well, and the wardrobe is really good. It's very effective. It was very like natural, normal clothes, like to kind of I guess like juxtapose against the insanity that was going on. You're like, oh no, they're normal people. I think like he's got a normal green sweater on, like he's a normal guy.
Well, that, like, literally to bring it back to the beginning of the episode, those are all things that I think make it feel like Suspiria, because Suspiria does all of the exact same stuff in the same kind of way. And, like, that's one of the reasons that I really like watching Joe Bob, is because the movies that Joe Bob, he picks, sometimes they're movies that I would have never heard of in my life. And sometimes they're movies that maybe I heard of them, but I didn't think they sounded very interesting or something like that. But when you are like, well, I'm a fan of Joe Bob, so I'm going to watch whatever he plays. And then he shows a lot of Italian giallo films, old horror films, movies that, Possession, he showed Possession, but he shows all these films that, like, maybe on the surface you might have been like, I don't know if this is for me. But then you watch it and you're like, oh, no, this is like all these older films are seeped in so much more than just, I'm trying to think of like what horror movies are in the theater right now. You're not just, why does every horror movie you watch now look fake, or like look like you're watching a stage play, or look like they filmed it in your fucking backyard with a iPhone 6 or something? Because they did.
An angry orchard paid for it.
You watch any of these older films, there just seems like there is so much more care being put into every aspect of.
Well, because we live in a world where, hey, to make a real painting, you got to go to the fucking store and buy a canvas, and you got to go to a different store and buy some paint, and then you got to put some fucking thought into it. Or You could go to fucking Google Gemini and say, make me something that looks like a painting. And 90% of the world goes, that's really cool, actually. And it's not cool. Oh.
The possession
Hey, yeah.
episode turns into an anti-AI episode.
Speaking of anti-AI,
Click on it. Yeah.
couple things. I'm introducing another new segment called Hot Takes.
Stop.
I've gone to Chat GPT and it said, give me your 10 possession hot takes. Let's see if we agree or disagree with these. Number 1, it's not a horror film. It's a breakup film disguised as one.
All right. That's the most pretentious thing I've ever heard.
All right.
It's got a monster alien fucking
Disguised
girls
dog?
and
That
people
is
getting
not-
stabbed in the
I
neck.
think about that fucking.
I like this
milk
one.
can.
Ready?
That's not disguising anything. That's horror. That's
The
a fucking-
monster is more emotionally honest than the humans.
What does that mean?
He might be grotesque, but at least he doesn't lie, betray, or gaslight.
Yeah,
He
because it
doesn't
doesn't talk.
Yeah, mother.
I mean, that one's technically true. All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Isabel Adjani gave one of the greatest performances in cinema history and was punished for it. Written off as hysterical. If this was a man, she would have been called brave.
What? Wait. What do you mean? Was she?
Uh,
Was
People
she?
criticized the
Did she? Was she criticized?
criticized the
after this?
subway scene. Yeah,
Really?
as being it's
Oh.
just too much. Yeah.
Well, she
Oh,
didn't
sorry.
fucking
Does the
write it.
female anatomy scare you? Yeah. Also, no, she didn't. But also, it is.
We're
supposed
gonna
to be
cut this
extremely
whole
well
AI part out of it.
No, this isn't AI. This is me. ChatGPT Craig. Last one. I like this one. Mark is the real villain. The film gaslights you into thinking Anna is. You're led to believe Anna is going crazy, but pay attention. Mark is controlling, aggressive, and spiraling into obsession. Anna's madness is her only way of escaping his toxic rationalism.
Sure. I've seen
I
this
like
movie 3 times, and there are no times where I watched this movie and thought Anna was like the villain. Like even though she starts fucking a monster and she starts feeding it people, it's because she is a victim of the monster. Like she's not doing that because she's like, hey, I want to fuck a monster. She's doing it because the monster has like a mental hold over her and it's possessing her to do some of these things. So I don't. Yeah, I don't think he's really I mean, he murders somebody and maybe he's not great, but I think.
Well, I think his job is an interesting part of it too. Like whatever he's doing as a spy is leading him to kind of unravel as well.
Yeah.
But I think like the wrong person watching this with the wrong perspective, like hey, your perspective's wrong, dude.
Well,
might be like, oh, she's crazy. Like I can see that, but I don't.
I do too. But the movie is about how a bad relationship and arguing and being miserable and all these things can turn anybody to like do some questionable things.
Yeah. I didn't want to talk about this, but we have to, and I think this is going to come up in a lot of our discussions. This was reported a year ago. Paramount in final talks for Robert Pattinson produced remake of the horror movie Possession, directed by Smile director Parker Finn.
Oh,
dude.
No, thank you.
Not saying it couldn't be done, but I feel like this would be a tough one. Abby, tell me.
No, not the Smile director. I don't even care how this sounds. Get a female director. I feel like I want to see this story told from the perspective of a woman who's been through this or a woman through this. Like it happens all the time. But that would be more.
Fucking monster in an abandoned apartment in East Berlin. Get the fuck out of here!
All the time. I'm doing that right after we record. Well, no, I think that I would be. Well, here's what I'm basing this off. Suspiria had a really good remake. I really enjoyed it, and I thought it added and like deserved to exist on its own as a remake, and I really enjoyed that, and I really enjoyed the original. So if there was something that or someone who could take this and not make it like on the nose explaining it, but maybe visit these themes, like the chaos and the breakdown of two people's relationship. Like I could maybe watch it, but I don't want someone who's done Smile to do this. I've never seen that movie, but I believe it ranks in the like kind of shitty horror jump scare territory.
Yeah, those movies aren't great. So I agree with you, Abby. The only way a Possession if it were like Suspiria, then I think it could work. But I think the Suspiria remake is that should be studied, because that movie is very good, and it is very rare that a sequel, I mean, the original Suspiria is, I mean, that is all around seen as a masterpiece. Like, you look up Suspiria, you're going to see, that movie is very, very high acclaim around the board. I don't think there are many people out there who say bad things about Suspiria. So you would think a remake would be like, why? Why would you do that? And then somebody remade it, and I don't know who did or whatever, but they clearly had a lot of love for the original Suspiria. It has a lot of the same feelings, but then they change. Like, the ending is very different of the remake of Suspiria, but it is done in a way that almost makes it feel like, when you watch the Suspiria remake, it's almost like, oh, these are no longer separate to me. It feels like you have to watch both of these, and the original is one side of a coin, and the remake is, what if this happened instead? They almost feel like they're connected. And that is the only way I could see a Possession remake working, is if somebody who has the love for the original that whoever made Suspiria had for the original there. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't just feel like a random director who's like, oh yeah, I like that movie, I could remake. Like, it feels like the window of successfulness for this being good is very, very small. Like, it would, I don't know, it would need something very special to happen for a remake to be good.
Yeah, like potentially if a director were to go in and explore things more from Anna's perspective or from the monster's perspective, almost like, so you get a little bit more detail of like what they're thinking. Because when I think about Suspiria, I'm like, that is a knockdown, drag out, fucking blockbuster, awesome, incredible, scary movie, and there's a lot of clarity because in that movie it's like satanic Satanism tying in with this ballet troupe, and like you can kind of like understand what's going on a little bit. But this Possession was more open-ended, more troubling, and in the end reminds me of Sam Neill talking about the curiosity of wanting to go under the porch and listen to the sound the dog makes when it dies, because that's almost like what happens in the end of the movie. It's like the blaring, everything. It's like we've all just gone under the porch to see this horrible thing.
And we haven't even talked, by the way, real quick, apparently on Netflix there's an Indonesian remake of Possession called Possession.
I saw that.
Kerasukan that is apparently awful. Very, very, very bad.
Okay.
So we all got to watch that for next week. We have
There's
to,
like an Indian version of It.
Yeah.
Stephen King's It that takes place in a pool. Like, I think we've talked about that.
Yeah. You can watch that on YouTube.
Yep.
The whole thing's in a pool. The very end, I think we should talk about this after when when his doppelganger shows up, the fully formed monster is now like the cool hip you think Nutty Professor when he transforms. He's like the really holding himself with a lot of confidence. He knocks on.
Well, they're the opposites of it's
right.
It is the opposite of what Mark was, just like Hannah was kind of the opposite of Anna.
Sure.
Or wait.
Yeah. Helen and Anna.
Helen
yeah.
and Anna.
But
I mixed them into one.
He knocks on the door, and Bob, the child, who is a very important piece of this entire movie, starts basically screaming or crying, "Don't answer the door! Don't answer the door! Don't open!" And Hodor, and but they do, and then he runs, and the bathtub is part of the movie too. Like, he's in the bath multiple times. They show him taking a bath, being diving. And then the movie practically ends with a 8-year-old kid drowning himself in a bathtub.
Yeah.
As sirens blare and explosions go off, and whether or not, like, that's definitely open to interpretation. But it's pretty fucked up. Abby, do you not like?
Yeah, that was one of the moments that was extremely hard to watch. Yeah. As somebody who grew up like in a household where there was mental illness and abuse, I'll be totally honest, like it's hard to see that, but it's visceral and it's real in like a an accurate representation of what a child can feel, the pain and the breakdown of what happens when a child is not properly parented and cared for, and the impact of watching him dive into the bathtub is chilling. It's something I'll never forget. It's something that kept me up last night reading. I'm not going to say like, oh, it's the most necessary thing, everyone needs to see it, but it's like, it's a final serious like punch at the end of the movie, where you realize probably the biggest victim in all of this is the son and is the kid, is Bob.
Sure.
You could say that because he is the only like decent moral character throughout it who doesn't do anything bad because he's a kid.
Well, that's I mean, that's life,
What do you
right?
get
Like
for being named Bob when you're 6.
fucking Bob.
The
Not
whole
baby
family. I mean, technically, the whole family commits suicide. They all kill. I mean, Mark and Anna get shot, but then Anna shoots herself
in the back, right?
And then Mark jumps over the side of the balcony.
The beautiful stairwell.
Yeah.
That narrow stairwell,
really,
which I'd love to see.
When you have a house where there's mental illness and abuse, and it's generational and unchecked and unmedicated and therapied, the children tend to take the worst of it, and they tend to carry it on with them, and that's where the generational trauma comes from. So seeing a child end his own life in advance of 60 years of mental hell like I said, this movie has a lot. This is not Jason Lives. That's coming later. We are going to talk about
not
Jason
cuddle up with your potential someone you're dating and like have a super
Revenge of Michael Myers
time scaring each other. No, this would, I don't know. It's definitely not first date.
Where does this fall into stories of relationships falling apart? There's Marriage Story. There's this.
Oh, it's right.
This has to be
Midsummer. I'm doing a double feature with this and Midsummer.
Okay, yeah. And then I think my number one for relationships falling apart would probably be
Gone Girl.
Hey,
get back together. And I was just thinking of
I love
Eyes Wide Shut, which also, it's not a total fall apart, but they do have issues.
They're struggling.
This is the same ending as Gone Girl, basically, but without the stairwell and the, what's her name? Amy Dunn.
Amazing
Amy. There I was with my husband. Dude, I'm watching it today. Hell yeah. Let's go.
You know what? Yeah. Hell yeah. I have already said this in this episode, but I love to watch a female protagonist losing her mind and fighting for sanity and experiencing a range of emotions that are real and relatable. It makes somebody like me who has lived like quite a life, it makes me feel understood, and it makes me feel connected to what's happening on screen, and kind of I was guided into this world of things that I wasn't really aware of, but the themes are familiar. And I think that the performance from I'm forgetting her name, the main character Anna, was just Isabella Johnny was just unforgettable, haunting, otherworldly, ethereal, stunning. And that she's the reason why I would rewatch this movie. But I think I need a little bit of time before doing that to kind of like chill a little, because it was a heavy watch.
Yeah. I mean, I think it also speaks to the emotional impact. Like, listen, people make fun of actors and taking things too seriously, but to get yourself into the mental headspace for these types of performances, it's got to be challenging and take a toll on a person. So, yeah, man, this was a fun deep dive. And like, it's also the kind of thing where like, we can talk about this movie for 3 hours. We're only going to scratch the surface. I cannot wait to rewatch it. Maybe next year we'll do Possession Revisited. And maybe there'll be a remake. Hey, I don't want them to do a remake, but I think Robert Pattinson could play the role though.
Oh, I think so.
Role.
I think he could do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He looks like a young, he looks similar too. Yeah. Well, I could.
Abby, who'd you cast modern? Who would be the actress against Robert Pattinson in this? Let's just do it. Fan recasting right now.
I don't know. I'd have to think. What's her name from? Feel like the actress from Wednesday, who's also in X.
Jen Ortega.
Jen Ortega. I feel like that would be an obvious casting because she's like a smaller framed, dark haired character actor.
That's not a bad pick.
Yeah, I think that might. Sure, that's who I'll pick.
I think he might have aged out, but you know who'd be good as Heinrich is what's his name from Django? What's that actor's name?
Christoph Waltz.
Yeah, Christoph Waltz. Christoph Waltz.
Old.
Yeah, he's too old. Yeah, but he would be great as Heinrich. I'd love that.
Yeah.
Listen, guys, this was a lot of fun. So we're kicking off our Halloween season. This was Possession. And we're going to, you can go to our social media and see all the movies that we're going to be doing, but stay tuned for next week, another first time watch for Abby and myself. And I think we're going to get Jacob back next year. We're just going to do a month of picking movies, not even horror, just 4 movies Jacob's never seen. And we're going to torture him.
Pitch Perfect.
Yeah,
too.
but these are all good movies.
These are great movies.
So
next week will be Return of the Living Dead.
I'm excited. I'm excited,
which is going to be fun. Which is going to be a lot of fun. And then later in the month, we're going to be doing The Exorcist 3, as well as Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives, and then maybe a little surprise for Halloween. We'll have to see. Okay. We'll have to see if the stars align. If you catch my drift. That's right. We're doing No Fault in the Stars. Is that a movie?
I don't think so.
We're doing A Walk to Remember with Mandy Moore. No.
I could do that right now without even having watched it because I watched that movie a lot as a teenager. Okay. Dude, yeah, Mandy Moore's amazing.
Jacob, final thoughts on Possession?
I was talking to Jess about this when we did a rewatch, and she was like, "What do you think?" She was like, "I'm excited to see what Craig and Abby think. Do you think they're going to like it?" And I was like, "Yeah, I know they are because I know them, and this is a really good movie. Like, it might be hard to watch at times, but it is a really good movie. It's just everything about it's really well done. I'm really glad we had this talk and we got it out.
This was good.
And it was good. And I think this movie's great. I really love it. I'm really happy to talk about it. And I hope, listen, if you're listening to this episode and it inspires you to go out and watch this movie, please let us know. I want to know. I want to know what people think. If you have takes that we didn't have, I want to know, because this movie's like a puzzle and I want to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. And I was just going to say that I love movies. I love watching movies that make me read and that make me put a list of other movies I want to watch together, which I did after reading about this last night. I want to see Werner Herzog's Nosferatu, 1979, because it has the same actress.
Yep.
Yeah. I want to see Repulsion by Roman Polanski. It's part of his Apartment trilogy. And Rosemary's Baby is one of my favorite movies. And the movie Repulsion was brought up a lot as a comparison to this movie. That's going to be a tough watch, so we'll see when I get to it. And then finally, I've never seen The Brood by David Cronenberg, but that was mentioned a lot. In comparison and contrast.
Well, I've never seen The Devil, which is another movie this guy did, and I want to watch that.
Well, hey, The Brood, The Apartment, and The Devil, that's our Halloween movies for next year, because I've never seen any of those either.
Nice!
Hell yeah.
Nah,
dude, I'm going to get a goddamn Hitchcock movie in there at some point.
Pick one right now. We'll do it.
Wait.
Put Marky in there.
Jonathan Hitchcock?
Jonathan Jones Hitchcock.
Purple Ketchup Hitchcock?
And his blue restaurant. All blue food.
I was doing some research to see if East and West Berlin actually ever almost went into like an escalation to war. And it looks like it almost happened a couple times in the 40s and also in the 60s. But obviously during the Cold War, like the threat of, we're living in a different type of time now where there is the threat of nuclear war, but that's not like, if you grew up in the 80s during the Cold War,
the lack of information and like the terror of
it. Yeah. I mean, they were doing throughout the 60s, 70s, and I don't know, maybe to the 80s, they were doing air raid drills at schools. So and that was in America. So obviously there's political aspects of this movie I found really interesting. There's filmmaking aspects I find just absolutely wonderful and beautiful and great performances. Overall, I'd say this clearly moves into one of my top 10 or 15 horror movies of all time. And I will, have to revisit it and see. And I also love horror movies that I like that it takes 30 or 45 minutes of tension building before you get to, it makes me appreciate the grotesque stuff and the monster and all of that even more. And if you're the kind of person who watches a movie like this and goes, that didn't make sense, that was stupid, then hey, then it's not for you, but it's definitely for me.
Yeah, go watch Smile.
Smile.
Smile. Hey, no smile slander. Haven't I taught you guys enough to know that eventually some movie we shit on, the director of that movie is going to end up doing a Ghostbusters movie, and we're going to have to go scrub these episodes? Well, the director of Smile 3 did a Ghostbusters movie.
Or we can be honest. Smile wasn't good. Ghostbusters is good. We can
there you go.
There it is. Honest about everything, dude. There's nothing you can't watch. There's nothing that's too scary. What's in your mind is probably more terrifying. And that's what I always remember and realize when I watch movies like this. Absolutely. I like to be shook.
There we go. Well, listen, stay tuned for more from us this October. We're going to be having a lot of fun, and we're going to be doing these deep dives. And we appreciate you being here, whether or not you are watching on YouTube or listening or watching on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Make sure you subscribe. And if you're on YouTube, leave a comment. Let us know what you thought of Possession. And stay tuned for more from Yes Have Some Podcast. And happy Halloween, because this is the greatest time of year. Yeah. I was trying to manifest Halloween vibes into the home last night. Let me just tell you this. Let me set the scene. Abby was decorating the porch. Mm-hmm. I was playing the Halloween soundtrack on vinyl. I had a Halloween fireplace shitty thing on the TV on
you
YouTube.
Had an AI.
I didn't know it was AI. It just
I was like, that is no one's real fireplace.
Listen, but you know what sucked? It was 90 degrees out. So as soon as I opened the door, the illusion was ruined. But then we watched Possession, and it was all good. Yeah. All right, everybody. We'll see you next time. Thanks for being part of Yes Have Some Podcast as we embark on almost 10 years of a cinematic journey through ghostbusting and possession. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Do you want some coffee, Mr. Tully?
Do I? Yes, have some.
Yes, have some.